Put on your headphones, sit back, and take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear isn't just a book summary, it's a mirror, a reflection of every part of you that's stuck, scared, and standing still. This is the story of the inner mountain, the one you built and the one you were born to climb. Welcome to The Mountain Is You, written by Brianna Wiest. A book that doesn't just inspire, it challenges you to stop waiting, to stop making excuses, to stop calling your pain personality and your fear fate. In this video, we're going deep, chapter by chapter, through the emotional valleys, the mental fog, and finally up toward the peak of personal transformation. You'll discover why self-sabotage isn't weakness, it's protection. How your past pain is secretly running your life. Why the hardest thing you've ever been through might be the very thing that's trying to save you. And most of all, how to become the person you were always meant to be. This isn't just a motivational talk. It's a roadmap for radical inner change. Because sometimes the thing standing in your way isn't the world, it's you. But that's not the end of the story. That's just the beginning. So get comfortable, press play, and let's begin the climb. Chapter 1. The Mountain Is You. There's a mountain inside you. You feel it when you sabotage your own progress, when you procrastinate what you know will change your life, when you say yes to what drains you and no to what could heal you. You've called it bad habits, anxiety, fear of failure. But let's be honest, the mountain isn't out there. It's not your circumstances. It's not your past. It's you. This chapter opens the door to one of the boldest truths you'll ever face. The mountain you're climbing is made of everything you're still avoiding. But here's the power in that realization. If you built it, you can break it down. And if you can break it down, you can build something greater in its place. Brianna Wiest begins the book by defining what the mountain really is. It's not a metaphor for a difficult task. It's not just pain or hardship. It's every behavior, belief, and pattern you've created to protect yourself. That now quietly works against you. It's self-sabotage. And she's not just talking about the obvious kind, like skipping workouts or overspending. She's talking about the subtle self-betrayals, staying in toxic relationships because change feels unsafe, dimming your light so others feel comfortable, waiting for motivation that never comes, clinging to control because uncertainty feels like danger. These aren't random. They're rooted in deep emotional logic, often survival instincts formed in childhood or trauma. Why we self-sabotage? According to Brianna, we sabotage not because we're lazy or weak, but because we're trying to stay safe. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about familiarity. So if chaos is what you've always known, peace will feel threatening. If failure feels comfortable, success will terrify you. You'll unconsciously return to what's familiar, even if it's painful. That's what the mountain is, the layers of protection you've built that now imprison you. How the mind compensates. Here's a powerful concept from the chapter. The mind doesn't naturally choose what's best. It chooses what's known. So even when we want to grow, we revert to past patterns because they feel predictable. This is why real change is so hard. You're not just changing habits. You're rewiring identity. You're stepping away from a self that was created to cope and stepping toward a self that was born to thrive. Transformation begins with ownership. You cannot conquer what you won't claim. In this chapter, Brianna emphasizes that transformation begins the moment you stop blaming your parents, your ex, your environment, your luck, even your trauma. It's not that those things didn't matter. They shaped you, but they don't have to define you. When you say, I built this mountain, you also say, I have the power to tear it down. That's where freedom begins. Final insight of Chapter 1. This isn't a book about quick fixes. It's not about hustle culture or toxic positivity. It's about inner excavation, digging through the fear, resistance, and protective layers until you find what's real. The real you. The one who's ready for peace. The one who's hungry for growth. The one who's been buried under fear, but never broken by it. The mountain is you, but the summit is also you. You don't just climb it, you become it. And this chapter is where that journey begins. Chapter 2, Self-Sabotage. Have you ever caught yourself repeating the same mistake again and again? You say you want change. You promise to stop settling. You dream of a better life, a stronger version of you. And yet, you fall back into the same patterns. You freeze right before taking the leap. You back out when love gets too close. You give up when success starts knocking. And then you blame yourself. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe I'll always be this way. But what if the real reason you're stuck is because some part of you believes it's safer that way? This is where self-sabotage begins, and this is where we begin healing it. In Chapter 2 of The Mountain Is You, Brianna Wiest unpacks the painful truth behind one of the most misunderstood behaviors, self-sabotage. She begins by challenging the common idea that sabotage is caused by laziness, lack of motivation, or weakness. In reality, it's much deeper than that. It's not that we don't want success, it's that we're afraid of what success will cost us. Success demands change. Change demands risk. Risk threatens safety. And for many of us, safety is survival, even if it means staying small. Self-sabotage is the mind's way of protecting us from what it believes will harm us. Rejection, judgment, failure, or even joy. Why joy? Because if we've grown up in chaos, peace can feel unfamiliar. And unfamiliar often feels unsafe, even if it's good. Imagine a thermostat set to 70 degrees. If your life starts heating up, more love, more opportunity, more visibility, your subconscious might panic. It senses danger. And so without realizing it, you begin to cool things back down. Delay decisions, pick fights, quit projects, withdraw from people who care. Brianna reveals that many of us are unconsciously loyal to our pain. We stay loyal to the stories we were taught, that we aren't good enough, that love has to hurt, that happiness isn't for people like us. She calls this emotional addiction, being chemically and neurologically wired to feel what is familiar, even if it's destructive. You don't sabotage because you're broken. You sabotage because your brain is trying to keep you in what feels normal. But here's the catch. What feels normal is often what was modeled to us in childhood. If your home was unpredictable, your nervous system learned to live in stress. If love meant control or absence, you now equate emotional intensity with affection. If achievement came with punishment or pressure, your mind may now fear success as a threat, not a reward. So self-sabotage isn't the root problem. It's a symptom of unresolved wounds. It's a red flag waving from your subconscious, saying, something in me is afraid. Something in me doesn't feel safe with this version of life. The real triggers of sabotage. Brianna outlines specific emotional and psychological roots behind our self-sabotaging behaviors. Fear of change. You're afraid of losing what's familiar, even if it hurts. Fear of responsibility. More success means more people watching, more expectations, and the fear of letting them down. Fear of visibility. Being seen feels dangerous if you've ever been shamed for being different. Fear of love. You crave connection, but you run when it gets real. Because love has hurt before. Fear of success. You fear you'll get everything you ever wanted only to mess it up or lose it. You don't fear failure. You fear that success might prove your deepest doubts wrong, and you won't know how to handle it. How we sabotage. Brianna gives examples that anyone can relate to. You ghost people who care about you because vulnerability feels terrifying. You procrastinate on your dream project because finishing it means risking judgment. You choose unhealthy relationships because love with someone safe feels foreign, and love with someone chaotic feels like home. You spend money recklessly not because you're careless, but because having money makes you feel like a fraud. Each of these is not random behavior. It's your nervous system fighting to keep you in survival mode. The shift begins with awareness. The turning point in this chapter comes when Brianna asks us to stop punishing ourselves for our patterns and instead start listening to them. Ask yourself, what is this behavior protecting me from? What does this version of me still believe? Who taught me to be afraid of peace? When you ask those questions, you stop seeing sabotage as self-hate and start seeing it as a call to understand and heal. Brianna reminds us, you are not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because you're scared. And understanding that fear is the first step to changing it. Closing takeaway. You are not here to live a half-life. You are not here to repeat old stories. You are not here to fear your own potential. You are here to climb your mountain. And that journey begins by finally facing the part of you that's been holding you back. With compassion, not criticism. The mountain you are meant to climb is the part of you that's been scared to rise. And the moment you stop fighting it, you start becoming it. Chapter 3, Building Emotional Intelligence. You've probably been told to control your emotions, to stay strong, to just get over it. But what if that advice has been holding you back? What if the key to healing your life, to stopping the self-sabotage, to climbing your inner mountain, isn't ignoring your emotions? It's learning their language? Because your emotions are not the problem. They are your guide. They are not weakness. They are information. And once you learn how to understand them, you stop reacting blindly. You stop running from your pain. You stop building your life on fear. In this chapter, Brianna Wiest shows us how to become emotionally intelligent, not to suppress what we feel, but to channel it. This chapter begins with a hard truth. Many of us were never taught how to feel our emotions, let alone manage them. We learn to distract, to downplay, to avoid. If you cried, you were too sensitive. If you got angry, you were out of control. If you were anxious, you were dramatic. So over time, we shut down. We labeled emotions as inconvenient, unproductive, embarrassing. And as a result, we lost connection with the very part of us that could lead us to transformation, our emotional self. Brianna says emotional intelligence is not about controlling your emotions. It's about understanding what they're trying to tell you. Your emotions are signals. When you're sad, something needs to be grieved. When you're angry, a boundary has been crossed. When you're anxious, there's an inner part of you feeling unsafe. When you're numb, you've probably been overwhelmed for too long. Instead of judging these emotions, she invites us to get curious about them. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to show me? Where have I felt this before? What belief is triggering this emotion? Is this feeling from the present moment or from an old wound? When we ask these questions, emotions become teachers, not enemies. What emotional intelligence really means. Brianna breaks emotional intelligence into three main components. 1. Emotional awareness. This means recognizing what you're feeling without judgment. It's saying, I feel jealous right now, instead of pretending everything's fine. It's saying, I feel ashamed, and understanding where that shame is rooted. 2. Emotional regulation. This is learning how to soothe yourself, not by avoiding, but by sitting with your feelings. It's knowing how to breathe through panic, how to pause when you're triggered, how to speak your truth instead of exploding in rage. 3. Emotional integration. This means allowing emotions to move through you, not define you. You can feel grief without becoming bitterness. You can feel fear without giving up. You can feel anger and still respond with compassion. Why most of us stay emotionally stuck. Brianna explains that emotional immaturity is at the core of self-sabotage. If you never learned how to process rejection, you'll avoid all situations where you might be judged. If you never faced your past grief, you'll emotionally freeze when love shows up again. Many of us are adults in age, but still children in emotion, reacting, defending, avoiding, because we were never taught anything different. She also explains how we often project emotions instead of processing them. You get rejected and say, they're all toxic. You feel insecure and blame the job, the city, the partner. But in truth, it's your own unmet emotional needs speaking through the pain. The moment you take responsibility for your emotions, without blaming or numbing, is the moment you start taking control of your life. Brianna's core insight. You don't need to be less emotional. You need to become more fluent in what your emotions are telling you. Your fear, it's asking for safety. Your sadness, it's asking for closure. Your envy, it's pointing toward a desire you've been ignoring. Your anger, it's defending a self-worth you've forgotten. This is what it means to build emotional intelligence. to listen, learn, and lead yourself out of reaction and into response. Key takeaways from Chapter 3. Emotional intelligence isn't the absence of emotion, it's mastery of awareness. Your emotions are messengers. Listen to them before they scream. Reactivity fades when you learn to validate your own feelings. Processing your emotions doesn't make you soft. It makes you unstoppable. Closing words. This chapter invites you to stop apologizing for what you feel, to stop pretending you're okay just to keep the peace, to stop labeling your heart as too much, because your emotions were never the enemy. They were always trying to lead you home. And when you finally learn to feel, you begin to heal. Chapter 4. Rewiring the mind. Your mind is not your enemy, but it can become your cage. You think 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are the same ones you thought yesterday. They shape your beliefs. They guide your choices. They define who you think you are. But here's the truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them, and you have the power to change them. In this chapter, we stop letting our minds run the show. We stop obeying fear like it's fact. We stop mistaking anxiety for instinct. Instead, we learn how to do something few people are ever taught. We learn how to rewire our brain. Brianna Wiest opens this chapter with a powerful idea. Your mind is programmable, just like your habits, just like your body. Most people believe their thoughts are permanent, that the way they think is who they are. But neuroscience says otherwise. Your brain is constantly changing, adapting, reshaping, and building new pathways based on what you feed it. This is called neuroplasticity, and it's one of the most hopeful truths in modern psychology. It means that no matter where you start, no matter how anxious, depressed, fearful, or reactive you've been, you can change. But first, you have to understand what's been running the show. The role of thought loops. Brianna introduces the idea of cognitive loops. Thought patterns you repeat so often, they become unconscious. These loops are built from past experiences, emotional trauma, limiting beliefs, and fear conditioning. For example, if you were constantly criticized as a child, you may have an inner voice that says, "I'll never be enough." If you were taught that love must be earned, you may believe, "If I'm not useful, I'm unlovable." If you failed before, your brain might say, "Why even try?" These thoughts aren't true, but they feel true. And feelings, when repeated, create identity. Soon, you're not just thinking negatively. You become a negative person, not because it's who you are, but because it's what you've been conditioned to believe. How rewiring works. Brianna breaks it down. To rewire your brain, you must interrupt the loop and replace it with a new one. This happens in 3 steps. 1. Awareness. You catch the thought, "I always mess this up. They probably hate me. Why would anyone love me?" Instead of believing it, you pause and label it. "That's an old belief. That's not me." 2. Replacement. You speak a new thought, slowly, repeatedly, even if it doesn't feel true yet. "I am learning. I am allowed to be loved as I am. I trust myself to grow." 3. Reinforcement. You create rituals that align with the new belief. Journaling gratitude. Taking small risks to build confidence. Spending time around people who reflect your highest self. You don't do this once, you do it daily, because your brain is listening. And over time, it begins to believe what you consistently tell it. What gets in the way? Most people don't rewire their minds not because they can't, but because they expect instant results. They meditate once and expect peace. They say one affirmation and expect self-love. They set one boundary and expect everyone to respect it. But rewiring is like physical fitness. You don't lift weights once and become strong. You train, even when it's hard, even when you don't see progress yet. Emotional fitness is the same. Brianna reminds us, your mind has been repeating these negative patterns for years. It won't let go without effort, but the effort is worth it. Because when you change your thoughts, you don't just feel better, you become free. Examples of rewiring in action. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," you begin saying, "I'm experimenting." Instead of thinking, they're better than me, you reframe it. Their success proves what's possible. Instead of reacting with panic, you pause and breathe. This feeling is valid, but it's not permanent. Each of these small shifts creates new wiring in your brain. Over time, those wires become stronger. And one day you realize something has changed. You don't believe the worst about yourself anymore. You don't spiral at every setback. You don't fear becoming your old self again. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are reprogramming it. Final message of Chapter 4. You don't need a new personality. You don't need to erase your past. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to build a new way of thinking. One that's based on truth, not trauma. Because the old thoughts, they were just echoes of pain. The new ones, they are the language of freedom. Your thoughts create your reality. So choose ones that build mountains, not walls. Chapter 5, The Future Self. There's a version of you out there. Stronger, wiser, braver, more fulfilled. They are not a fantasy. They are not a dream. They are a reality waiting to be built. Brick by brick, belief by belief. But you can't meet them while clinging to the version of you that's still apologizing for existing. You can't become them while arguing for your limitations. You can't walk into your future while dragging the weight of your past. The future you is calling. And in this chapter, we learn how to answer that call. Not just with hope, but with action. In Chapter 5, Brianna Wiest introduces one of the most empowering concepts in the book, the idea of the future self. This isn't just who you want to become, it's who you're meant to be. It's the version of you on the other side of healing, the one who lives with clarity, intention, and emotional freedom. But you won't meet that version of you by accident. You have to build them. And the first step, understanding what's been standing in the way. Why we resist growth. Most people don't resist growth because they don't want it. They resist it because it threatens their current identity. Think about it. If you've always seen yourself as the anxious one, or the people pleaser, or the one who always gets left behind, then becoming confident or calm or empowered feels wrong. It feels like a betrayal of who you've always been. Brianna explains that identity is powerful. Even painful identities give us comfort because they're familiar. So when you try to change, your mind might sabotage you, not because it hates you, but because it doesn't recognize this new you as safe. The solution? Stop arguing with your past self. Start teaching your brain that the future version of you is not a threat. It's a coming home. Who is your future self? Brianna invites you to get clear, not vague. Don't just say, I want to be happy. Say, my future self is someone who wakes up peacefully, who speaks with confidence, who moves through the day without guilt, who ends the night proud, not ashamed. Your future self isn't perfect. They just don't carry the same baggage anymore. They've learned how to process emotion. They've stopped self-sabotaging. They make decisions that align with their values, not their fear. And the more specific you get, the more real they become. How to start becoming that person. Brianna gives a simple but profound process. 1. Audit your habits. Are your daily actions aligned with the future you or the fearful you? Would your future self scroll for 2 hours or journal for 10 minutes? Would they ghost someone or set a clear boundary? 2. Change your inner language. Replace. I hope I can with I am learning to replace. I've always been like this with that's who I was, not who I am becoming. 3. Make tiny, consistent shifts. Transformation isn't one big leap. It's 1,000 small choices. A morning routine, a decision to pause instead of react, a moment of silence instead of self-judgment. 4. Surround yourself with reflective energy. If you're always around people who feed your past, your growth will always feel like loss. Start spending time, even online, with people who mirror your future. One of the most powerful insights, you are not healing to become someone else. You are healing to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. The future self isn't new. They are authentic. They are you without fear controlling your every move. You don't have to create them. You just have to uncover them. When it gets hard, there will be days when you want to go back, when fear feels easier than growth, when silence feels safer than honesty. But those are the days that matter most, because every time you choose to act like your future self, even when it's hard, you send your brain a new message. This is who I am now, and I'm not going back. Closing words. The mountain in front of you may feel high. The past behind you may feel heavy. But your future self is not some distant version of perfection. They are waiting at the top, and every choice you make is a step in their direction. You don't become them all at once. You become them moment by moment, by choosing peace over chaos, growth over fear, truth over comfort. Your future self is not your fantasy. They are your destiny. Chapter 6. Breakdowns and Breakthroughs. What if your worst moments weren't the end? What if the heartbreak, the panic, the total collapse of everything you thought you knew wasn't ruining you, but rebuilding you? We talk about breakdowns like they're signs of weakness, like they're evidence that we've failed. But what if they're sacred? What if breakdowns are just truth explosions? The body, the heart, and the soul saying, I can't carry this weight anymore. In this chapter, Brianna Wiest flips the script. She shows us that every breakdown is a message, a map, and if you're willing to listen, it can become your breakthrough. Chapter 6 begins with an emotional truth we've all lived through. Sometimes your life falls apart, not because you did something wrong, but because you're finally outgrowing it. We all experience moments of deep emotional collapse. The panic attack you didn't expect, the relationship that breaks without warning, the days where you can't get out of bed, and the nights that swallow you whole. Brianna explains that these moments, though terrifying, are not signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that something inside you is shifting. Your soul is clearing out what's no longer aligned with who you're becoming. These breakdowns are painful, yes, but they're also sacred invitations. They force you to face what you've been avoiding. They pull out the buried grief, the suppressed anger, the untold truth. They bring your inner chaos into the light so you can finally begin to heal. The purpose of a breakdown. According to Brianna, a breakdown is what happens when your internal world, your needs, your values, your truths, are no longer compatible with the life you're living. It's your system saying, this job no longer matches my worth. This relationship doesn't see who I truly am. This version of me is too small for the vision I carry. We collapse not because we're broken, but because we've been pretending we're okay for too long, and pretending is exhausting. What breakdowns look like. Not all breakdowns are dramatic. Some are slow. They look like constant irritability, emotional numbness, feeling stuck in every area of life, losing joy in things you used to love, physical exhaustion with no medical cause, Brianna emphasizes. These are not signs you're lazy or failing. They're signs you're misaligned. You are being called to rebuild your life on a more honest foundation. What happens? During a breakthrough. A breakthrough doesn't always come with a lightning bolt. It often comes in quiet realization. I don't want to chase people anymore. I've been waiting for permission to be myself. I can't keep living this way. From that awareness comes movement, a new boundary, a breakup, a resignation, a moment of choosing your truth over your fear. It's terrifying, but it's also freeing. That's the essence of a breakthrough. Not a perfect outcome, but a realignment. The psychology behind it. From a neuroscience perspective, breakdowns often occur during what Brianna calls cognitive dissonance, when your reality and your inner truth are in conflict. If you keep pretending to be fine while you're breaking inside, if you keep following old rules while craving a new life, your mind and body will begin to rebel. That rebellion can look like burnout, mental health spirals, or identity crises. But again, it's not the end. It's the start of radical clarity. How to move through a breakdown. Consciously, Brianna offers powerful steps to guide the healing. 1. Stop resisting it. Don't numb it. Don't run. Don't suppress. Feel it. Let it break open. Let it cleanse. 2. Witness yourself with compassion. Watch your own pain with kindness. Ask, what is this teaching me? What am I finally being freed from? 3. Find safety in the now, anchor into your breath, your body, and the present moment. Remind yourself, well, this feeling is intense, but it is not forever. 4. Release the story. Stop clinging to the narrative that this is punishment or failure. It's rebirth. It's transition. It's sacred deconstruction. 5. Envision what comes next. Start planting tiny seeds for the life you're growing into. Even if all you can do today is rest, cry, and breathe, that's part of the rebuild. Final message of Chapter 6. You were not meant to hold everything together forever. You were not built to carry years of silence, shame, self-denial, and keep smiling. The breakdown is not the moment you fall apart. It's the moment you stop pretending. It's the space where the old story collapses and the new one begins to write itself. Let yourself fall, because sometimes falling apart is the only way to fall into place. Chapter 7, Healing the Root. You can't fix a cracked ceiling. If the foundation is broken, you can't stop the anxiety. If the root is abandonment, you can't overcome self-sabotage. If deep down you still believe you're unworthy. We spend so much time trying to fix the symptoms. The overthinking, the procrastination, the fear of failure. But if we never look deeper, we'll keep repeating the same patterns with different faces. In this chapter, Brianna Wiest gives us the truth we've been avoiding. To heal your life, you must go back to the root, not to stay there, but to understand it, and finally, to release it. This chapter begins with a powerful truth. Most of the problems we face in adulthood are not new. They're old wounds dressed in new situations. That heartbreak, it reopened your fear of abandonment from childhood. That panic before starting something new, it's the echo of the time you failed and were humiliated. That constant people-pleasing, it's rooted in a belief that love must be earned. We think we're reacting to what's happening now, but we're actually reacting to what we never healed. Brianna says this is why self-sabotage often feels irrational. You logically know you're safe, but your body doesn't believe it. You know you deserve love, but your subconscious is still stuck in a past rejection. To truly grow, you must stop treating the symptom and start healing the cause. Our brains are meaning-making machines. When something painful happens, especially in childhood, we don't just feel hurt, we form beliefs. I'm not enough. I can't trust anyone. I'll always be abandoned. Success isn't safe. These become our core beliefs, and they operate like programs in the background. We don't question them. We just build our lives around them. So we shrink ourselves. We overachieve to feel worthy. We sabotage good things because they don't match our inner script. Brianna explains that the root isn't the pain itself. It's the story we created about the pain. And healing the root means rewriting that story. How to find the root. 1. Identify the emotional pattern. Ask yourself, when did I first feel this way? What does this feeling remind me of? 2. Look for the belief underneath. Every emotion carries a belief. I feel anxious because I believe I'll be judged. I feel angry because I believe I'm powerless. 3. Trace it back. Think of your earliest memories that support this belief. Was there a moment, a comment, a dynamic that made you feel this first? 4. Recognize. That belief was never your truth. It was your survival. You built it to protect yourself. But now, it's hurting more than it's helping. The role of the inner child. Brianna introduces a key healing idea. Many root wounds come from our inner child. This is the part of us that still feels small, unheard, unseen. We don't outgrow it. We carry it with us into adult life. And if we don't connect with this part of ourselves, it will continue to run the show from the shadows. You'll keep dating people who abandon you. You'll keep chasing validation. You'll keep sabotaging your peace, because peace is unfamiliar. But when you speak to that younger self, when you hold space for them, when you reparent them, with love, truth, and safety, something begins to shift. You stop reacting like a wounded child, and you start responding like a grounded adult. How to heal the root. 1. Validate the original pain. Don't gaslight yourself. Say, it wasn't okay that I was ignored. It wasn't okay that I was taught love is conditional. 2. Separate the event from the belief. What happened to you was real, but the belief you formed, I'm not good enough, is a story. It can be rewritten. 3. Give your inner child what they never received: love, reassurance, permission, presence. Say to yourself what you needed to hear back then. You are safe now. You don't have to earn love. You are enough, just as you are. 4. Create new emotional experiences. Healing happens through new experiences that contradict old beliefs. Allow yourself to be loved. Celebrate yourself. Set boundaries. Choose peace, even when chaos feels familiar. Final message of Chapter 7. You are not broken. You are not difficult. You are not beyond healing. You are simply responding to a wound that was never your fault. But now, it's your responsibility to stop carrying it. Because that pain, it may have shaped you, but it does not define you. When you heal the root, the leaves stop falling apart. You grow differently. You choose differently. You become someone who no longer walks around protecting the wound, but nurturing the truth underneath it. Chapter 8. Living in alignment. Have you ever achieved something big and still felt empty? Have you stayed in a relationship, a career, a lifestyle that looked good from the outside, but quietly destroyed you on the inside? That's not failure. That's misalignment. In this chapter, Brianna Wiest asks a simple but life-changing question. What if the reason you're anxious, exhausted, uninspired isn't because you're broken, but because you're living a life that's not aligned with who you really are? This chapter is your guide to coming back home to yourself, to stop forcing, faking, and pleasing, and start building a life that feels like truth. Living in alignment means that your inner world matches your outer world. It means you think, feel, act, and speak in ways that are true to your core values. It means your job doesn't just pay the bills, it reflects your purpose. Your relationships don't just keep you company, they nourish your soul. Your routines aren't just habits, they reflect who you want to become. But when you're out of alignment, you overextend yourself to be liked. You chase goals that don't matter to you. You say yes when your heart is screaming no. You numb out every night just to survive the day. And slowly you begin to shrink. You begin to resent your own life. You begin to forget who you were before the world told you who to be. Brianna calls this emotional misalignment, and it is the quietest kind of self-destruction. Why we abandon alignment. From a young age, most of us are taught to value what's expected, not what's authentic. Get the job, get the title, fit in, don't rock the boat. So we build lives based on fear, pressure, and performance, not on passion, truth, and connection. We listen to what others tell us should make us happy, but ignore the signals from our own body when it whispers, "This isn't it." We become strangers to ourselves. But here's what Brianna makes clear. You cannot be truly at peace while living in misalignment. Your soul will always protest. Your body will always react. Your life will always feel off. How to know you're out of alignment. You're chronically tired, even after sleeping. You feel disconnected from your decisions. You succeed at things and still feel empty. You constantly second-guess yourself. You feel like you're performing your life rather than living it. These aren't weaknesses. They're signs. Your nervous system is saying, this isn't who we are anymore. How to return to alignment. Brianna walks us through a return, not a reinvention, because your true self has always been there, underneath the noise. Here's how. 1. Identify your core values. What actually matters to you? Is it freedom, peace, creativity, connection? Write them down. Not what you've been told to value, but what your soul craves. 2. Audit your life. Go through each area: work, relationships, daily habits. Ask, Is this aligned with who I am and where I want to go? 3. Listen to emotional feedback. Emotions aren't random. They're messengers. Chronic dread, misalignment, ease and excitement, alignment. 4. Take micro actions toward truth. You don't have to quit your job or move cities overnight, but maybe you start painting again. Maybe you say no when you used to say yes. Maybe you just take 15 minutes a day to be fully, unapologetically yourself. A word on fear. Brianna doesn't ignore the fact that alignment can be terrifying, because when you start living for your own truth, you might disappoint people. You might lose approval. You might have to walk away from comfort, but you will gain something far more powerful: inner peace. You will stop living to be liked and start living to be real. Final message of Chapter 8. Your life is not meant to look perfect. It is meant to feel like home. When you are in alignment, you don't chase, you attract. You don't fake, you embody. You don't hustle for validation. You stand in quiet self-trust. The mountain you are climbing isn't there to test you. It's there to reveal you. The more you align with your truth, the lighter the climb becomes. Chapter 9, Your Higher Self. There's a voice within you, not the loud, anxious one, not the critical one, not the voice that replays past mistakes or fears the future. This voice is calm, clear, steady. It speaks without yelling. It guides without force. It leads without fear. That voice, it belongs to your higher self, the version of you that already knows who you are, what you deserve, and where you're going. In this chapter, Brianna Wiest helps us reconnect to that version, not by trying to become someone else, but by remembering who we were before fear got in the way. Your higher self isn't a fantasy. It's not someone you have to earn, chase, or prove yourself worthy of. It's already within you. It's the part of you that makes decisions out of intuition, not impulse, that chooses love over fear, growth over comfort, and truth over performance. But most of us can't hear this version of ourselves because the noise of trauma, doubt, conditioning, and chaos is too loud. Brianna explains that the work of healing, of climbing our personal mountain, is about clearing the path back to that voice. Who is the higher self? Your higher self is the version of you who knows their worth, even when others don't, operates from alignment, not approval, chooses integrity, not convenience, trusts timing instead of forcing outcomes, leads with love, not with fear. They are not perfect, but they are present. They are conscious, intentional, and peaceful, even in chaos. Brianna explains, your higher self is not the person who always smiles or always succeeds. It's the part of you that responds instead of reacts, that forgives instead of clings, that expands instead of contracts. Signs you're disconnected from your higher self. You feel chronically reactive, snapping at things that don't matter. You constantly seek validation from others. You feel anxious making decisions, even small ones. You suppress your needs to avoid conflict. You say yes when your body screams no. These aren't flaws, they're indicators. They show us where we're still listening to the wounded self, the one built on survival, not truth. How to reconnect with your higher self. Brianna offers gentle, powerful steps. 1. Create stillness. Your higher self speaks softly. You won't hear it in chaos. Take time each day for silence, even 5 minutes. No phone, no input, just breathe. 2. Ask better questions. Instead of what should I do, ask, what would the calm, wise, loving version of me do next? 3. Feel, then act. Your higher self doesn't avoid feelings, it allows them. Sit with your emotions, let them pass through you, not define you. 4. Make identity-based choices. Don't just ask what's the easy thing. Ask what would the future version of me choose right now. 5. Honor your truth. Speak it gently, live it boldly. Whether others understand or not, your soul will know the difference. What happens when you live from this place? When you start living as your higher self, you stop explaining your boundaries. You stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You stop begging for closure because you become your own source of peace. You begin to trust the unfolding, even when you don't understand it yet. This isn't about spiritual perfection. It's about daily alignment. It's about choosing to be conscious over and over again. Brianna's wisdom on becoming. Brianna reminds us, you don't step into your higher self by finding her. You step into her by removing everything you are not. Every moment you choose honesty over performance, choose rest over burnout, choose reflection over reaction, choose love over control, you are stepping closer to her, not in some future, but now, in real time, in real life. Final message of Chapter 9. Your higher self isn't a goal, it's a return to stillness, a return to wholeness, a return to who you were before the world told you to be someone else. The climb may be steep, but the view from the top is you, unfiltered. Chapter 10. Becoming the mountain. All this time, you thought the mountain was the obstacle, the fear, the trauma, the heartbreak, the pattern you couldn't break. You thought the mountain was something outside of you, something to fight, to conquer, to overcome. But what if the mountain was you? And what if climbing it, every painful step, every breakdown, every brave little choice, was never about reaching some perfect version of life, but about finally becoming the realest version of yourself? This chapter isn't just a conclusion, it's a revelation. It's where you stop running from the mountain and become it. Throughout this book, Brianna Wiest has guided us through the depths of self-sabotage, healing, inner transformation, and emotional realignment. Now in this final chapter, she brings it full circle. You are not climbing the mountain to reach the top. You are climbing it to become it. Becoming the mountain means becoming grounded in your truth, unshakable in your integrity, expansive in your self-worth, still in your presence. It means your pain no longer owns you. Your triggers no longer control you. Your past no longer defines you. It means you now walk through the world with power, not pretense. What becoming the mountain really means. The mountain has always symbolized struggle, but Brianna flips it. It's not your burden. It's your becoming. Here's what it looks like. You hold boundaries with quiet confidence. You speak your truth without apology. You rest without guilt. You let go of what's not yours to carry. You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You no longer seek safety and control or validation. Your safety now comes from within, from knowing who you are, what you value, and what you'll no longer tolerate, from triggered to transformed. Becoming the mountain doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you feel everything without being ruled by anything. You get triggered and respond with grace, not chaos. You fall down, but you rise faster because your foundation is strong. Your pain taught you. Your breakdowns broke you open, and now you're whole. Not because you're perfect, but because you stopped needing to be. The psychology of integration. Up until now, you've been doing the inner work. Healing the root wounds, rewriting the stories, rebuilding the self-worth, connecting to your higher self. In this chapter, Brianna introduces a powerful concept, integration. Integration means it's no longer just knowledge. It's your way of being. You don't have to keep trying to change. You simply live the change. You no longer pretend to be confident. You just are. You don't force self-respect. It's automatic. You don't hustle for love. You only accept what aligns. Signs you've become the mountain. You no longer entertain what drains your peace. You notice your triggers, pause, and choose differently. You make decisions from clarity, not urgency. You are okay being misunderstood because you understand yourself. You don't shrink to make others comfortable. You rest, speak, love, and live like someone who knows they are enough. This is not arrogance. This is embodied self-worth. Final message of the book. You are not the pain. You are not the past. You are not the fear that once consumed you. You are the mountain, the stable, the solid, the grounded force of your own becoming. And the truth is, you always were. The climb was never to make you someone new. It was to help you remember who you already were, beneath the fear, beneath the story, beneath the survival. Now you don't run anymore. You rise, you hold, you stand. Because you are the mountain and now you move like one. Conclusion, a final reflection for the listener. You've just taken a journey through the mountain, not a mountain made of rock or dirt, but a mountain made of resistance, trauma, heartbreak, and fear. And step by step, chapter by chapter, you've begun the most important climb of your life, the one that leads back to you, to your truth, to your voice, to your highest self, to the version of you that no longer runs but rises. Remember this, the mountain was never in your way, it was the way. So if this summary stirred something in you, if a part of you feels lighter, clearer, more alive, then don't let that awareness fade. Save this video, subscribe to Summary Lens, put your headphones in again tomorrow, and listen until the words become who you are. Because healing isn't a one-time moment, it's a lifestyle, a rhythm, a choice you make, again and again. And on Summary Lens, we'll keep climbing together. One book, one breakthrough, one breath at a time.